Some love stories don't fade. They wait. They wait in quiet rooms, in old memories, in the places where two people once stood side by side. And sometimes after years of silence, life finds a way to bring those hearts back into the same city, the same street, the same moment. Because when a story is unfinished, it always returns. It has been many years since Vivian and Edward walked out of that Beverly Hills hotel, laughing, hopeful, and glowing with the kind of love that only movies seem to promise. But life, with all its twists and turns, rarely follows the script we expect. Time passed. Paths split. Dreams grew in different directions. And now, on the silent edge of Beverly Hills, the world looks different than the one they once knew together. The city wakes in a soft golden light, the same light that once reflected in Vivian's bright eyes. A slow pan across the skyline shows tall buildings rising where old ones once stood. New faces fill the sidewalks. New stories unfold every day. Yet somewhere in all this change, a familiar red dress hangs on a simple wooden hanger, untouched, waiting like a memory that refuses to disappear. Dust gathers gently on the velvet fabric, hinting that it has been many seasons since it was last worn across the city. Edward stands alone by the tall window of his penthouse, staring out at the moving traffic below. The man who once controlled boardrooms and made decisions with confidence now stands quieter, slower. A recent health scare forced him to step back from the world he built. And in the stillness that followed, he started hearing echoes of laughter. Moments, promises, and a voice he never truly forgot. The camera lingers on his face not to show age, but to reveal the weight of time. As gentle piano notes begin to play, the trailer cuts to a montage of the past. Their old limo, their first smiles, their hands brushing softly as they cross the street. These scenes fade in and out like memories you try not to hold on to but can't let go of either. The narration reveals that both of them believe they had moved on. Vivian built a life of meaning and purpose, helping young women find their strength. Edward hid behind success, trying to outrun the pieces of himself that felt unfinished. But the truth is simple: some connections never really die. They only drift, waiting for the moment when life whispers, "It's time." The music deepens as the section closes with a symbolic shot to empty places at a long dinner table, lit by warm candles. They sit across from each other, yet remain unfilled, as if saving the seats for two people who walked away too soon because this story isn't over. It's just been waiting for its second chance. The night of the charity gala begins like any other night in Beverly Hills: bright lights, polished cars, and people dressed in their best versions of themselves. But for Vivian and Edward, this night is far from ordinary. It is a night shaped by fate, though neither of them knows it yet. The soft glow of chandeliers reflects off marble floors as the camera moves through the gala hall, revealing elegant decorations, laughter drifting through the air, and a quiet sense of expectation. Earlier that morning, Vivian received an invitation she almost ignored. A simple white envelope with gold lettering. Just another event, she thought. But when she saw who the gala would support, young women seeking new beginnings, she felt a familiar pull. Her foundation had grown over the years, and she knew her presence could help even more people. She didn't know that the same invitation had been delivered to someone else, someone she never expected to see again. Edward sits in his study, the invitation resting in his hands. He turns it slowly, almost unsure if he should go. Retirement has left him restless, and the health scare forced him to think about the things he left unfinished. The gala could be a chance to reconnect with the world. Or maybe, somewhere deep inside, he sensed it might bring him face to face with the past he still carries. He finally sets the card down, breathes deeply, and decides to go. The trailer shifts to soft, rising music as the scene cuts between their separate preparations. Vivian ties her hair back with steady hands, her eyes strong but touched with something unspoken. Edward straightens his tie in front of a mirror. But there's a hesitation there, the kind that comes from wondering if it's too late to fix old mistakes. A slow-motion shot captures two pairs of footsteps, walking toward the ballroom entrance. One in elegant heels, the other in polished shoes. They move closer, unaware of who they're about to meet. Unaware that this is the moment their paths finally collide again, inside the ballroom, Vivian pauses for a moment. Her smile is warm, practiced. She greets donors, laughs softly, and speaks with sincerity. But her eyes search the room from time to time, as if expecting something. Or someone. Edward enters moments later, and the camera catches a brief flash of recognition as his gaze lands on a familiar silhouette. Though he's too far to be sure, the world slows. The music softens. And for the first time in many years, they find themselves under the same roof. Two lives, once intertwined, now standing across a crowded room filled with strangers. Neither knows what to say. Neither knows how to take the first step. All they feel is the quiet shock of seeing the past walk back into the present. The section ends with a symbolic shot, Vivian turning slightly, Edward looking up at the same moment. Their eyes don't meet yet, but the tension says everything. Something long buried is waking again. Something they both thought they had left behind, and the night has only just begun. The moment their eyes finally meet, the world seems to pause, not with drama, but with a soft, painful truth. Vivian feels her breath catch for a second. Edward feels his heartbeat grow heavier. It is not the kind of reunion either imagined. Not filled with joy, not filled with anger, just something deep and quiet. Like two memories waking up at the same time. Vivian turns away first, not out of fear, but because she doesn't trust the wave of emotions rising inside her. Years of growth, confidence, and success suddenly collide with the girl she once was, the girl Edward once knew. She excuses herself from a conversation and steps outside onto the balcony for air. The city lights stretch out before her, glowing like a reminder of every path she's taken since that last goodbye. Inside, Edward watches her leave. He wants to follow, but doubt keeps him still. He isn't the same man anymore. His voice is softer. His hands tremble slightly. There are things he wishes he had said years ago, choices he wishes he had made differently. And now, seeing Vivian again brings all those old regrets to the surface. The music slows as he finally gathers the courage to walk toward the balcony door. Vivian hears his footsteps before she sees him. She closes her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. When she turns, the camera stays focused on the space between them, an invisible distance filled with every word they never spoke. Edward smiles gently, almost shyly, and she mirrors the gesture without realizing it. Neither of them rushes to talk. Time moves quietly, letting them feel the weight of the moment. When Edward finally speaks, his voice is low, almost unsure. He tells her she looks strong, successful, radiant. Vivian responds with a calm smile, but there's softness in her eyes. She tells him she's proud of the work she's done and the woman she has become. Yet beneath her confidence, there is a tremble, a hidden question she's not ready to ask. Why did we end the way we did? The scene cuts to a montage of rising tension. Vivian walking through a storm of camera flashes as reporters shout her name. Edward sitting alone at a piano in his penthouse, trying to play the tune he once played for her but stopping halfway, unable to continue. Vivian reading letters from young women who now look up to her. While Edward stares at old photographs he thought he had forgotten. As the night continues, they speak about their work, their struggles, their victories, but they step carefully around the truth, around the feelings that never quite disappeared. Vivian wonders if letting him back into her heart would open old wounds. Edward wonders if he even deserves a second chance at all. A soft breeze moves through the balcony, and Vivian rests her hands on the railing. She tells Edward that life forced her to grow fast, to learn how to love herself before loving anyone else again. Edward admits that he spent years trying to fill a space inside him that nothing, not success, not wealth, could ever fill. For a brief moment, their hands rest on the railing side by side. They don't touch, but they're close. Close enough for the world to feel the possibility, the fear, and the pull that still exists between them. As the camera pulls back slowly, the narration returns, hinting at something neither of them is ready to face. Sometimes the hardest part of love isn't losing it. It's letting it back in. The night grows deeper, and the gala slowly empties. But for Vivian and Edward, the evening is far from over. They walk through the quiet halls of the hotel, each step echoing like a reminder of how far they've come, and how close they once were. Neither speaks at first. The silence between them is fragile, filled with memories, apologies, and questions that have waited far too long. When they reach the lobby, Vivian stops. She turns to Edward with a calm yet troubled expression. Her voice shakes slightly as she asks him something she has carried for years. "Why did you let us fall apart?" The camera lingers on Edward's face. His eyes lower and he exhales slowly, the weight of old mistakes pressing down on him. He explains that he was afraid of not being enough, afraid of losing control, afraid of loving someone who made him feel alive in ways he wasn't ready for. And in trying to protect himself, he hurt the one person who believed in him. Vivian listens quietly. Her eyes soften, but there is pain there, a reminder of nights she waited for calls that never came. Moments she wished he would choose her over his work, his fears, his walls. She tells him she didn't need perfection. She just needed him to choose her. Even once, even for a moment. And hearing that, Edward's voice cracks. He admits he has lived with regret ever since. The scene shifts as rain begins to fall outside, tapping against the tall glass doors of the hotel. Vivian steps closer, not out of romance, but out of truth. She tells Edward that she built a new life, a good one, a strong one. She learned how to stand on her own. But no matter how far she traveled, there was always one chapter she could never close completely. One door that never locked. And now, seeing him again, she doesn't know whether to open it or finally walk away for good. Edward reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a small, worn jewelry box. The camera focuses on his trembling hands as he holds it out, not as a proposal but as an apology. He explains that years ago he bought something for her, thinking he would give it to her when the time was right. But the right moment never came. And the box stayed closed, just like his heart. Vivian hesitates. She doesn't open it. Instead, she looks up at him with tears in her eyes and asks the hardest question of all: if we try again, what makes this time different? Edward steps forward, close enough for the tension to return, the kind that is both comforting and terrifying. He answers with honesty. He tells her he has finally learned that love isn't about control. It's about courage. And if she gives him one chance, just one, he won't run this time. The camera cuts to a slow-motion shot of the elevator doors opening behind them, a powerful echo of the final scene from their past. Vivian glances at the elevator, then back at Edward. Her breathing deepens. Her heart races. This is not a fairy tale moment. This is a real moment. Messy, uncertain, human. Rain glows under the city lights outside. Their hands hover close. Too close. The music rises. Vivian whispers, "I don't want promises. I want honesty." Edward nods. "Then let's start there." Their fingers almost touch. Then the screen cuts to black. A final line appears. "Pretty Woman 2, Second Chances. Some stories return for a reason."